you're watching the 8 p.m. newscast on Canada English. We begin this newscast with the headlines. The Normalization Committee of Faker Food has suspended the contract of the head coach of the Indomitable Lions, Hugo Broos. The reason for the suspension was his inability to qualify Cameroon for the 2018 World Cup to take place in Russia. Plus, classes have been interrupted at the bilingual nursery and primary school Boko in a village neighborhood following the disappearance of 3-year-old Itaya Abigail on Wednesday, November the 29th. And CCC quarter in Douala, Cameroon is mourning the death of a high school student. The boy was electrocuted by suspending cables on his way back from fetching water. Those were the major stories. The developments and more just right ahead. Now, classes have been interrupted at the bilingual nursery and primary school Boko village in a neighborhood following the disappearance of a 3-year-old Itaya Abigail on Wednesday, the 29th of November. Well, since then, investigations have been going on, but without much report. As you tell us, Christel Catala.
It's been 6 days as research continues with the hope of finding 3-year-old Itaye Ambamba Abigail, who disappeared on Wednesday, November 29, 2017. It all began when the aunts of little Abigail would not find her at Balingwa Nursery and Primary School Evenker at Mboko village in Douala 3 when she went to pick her up.
Le mercredi matin, je suis venu accompagner l'enfant à l'école comme d'habitude. Aux environs de 13.
Wednesday morning, I brought the child to school, as usual. At midday, since I usually left them on Wednesday at midday, I went to school to pick her up, but I could not find her. The class door was locked. I was told she was in the next class. I went there, I saw many children, but she was not there. I went to see the headmaster and explained my problem. He told me the child can be around. I went around and searched for the child to no avail. I went back and saw the headmaster and he did not tell me anything concrete.
Je me dirige vers le directeur, je dis au directeur que ouais, je ne trouve pas mon enfant est où? Il me dit que l'enfant doit être sorti.
At the level of the school, the headmaster says despite several search warrants dropped at the police station, radio and TV stations, no positive information has transpired. Even the quarter head says such an incident has never happened in her chiefdom. Since the first day, I called my colleague and informed them about the disappearance of the child. They say they have not seen the child. I was expecting that by this day, things could have changed. I am so sad. This is the first time we are facing such a situation in my chiefdom.
Ce problème, c'est la première fois que je vis les pareilles situations dans ma chefferie.
The school premises were surrounded this morning by forces of law and order. Classes have been interrupted. At the residence of the little girl, sorrow still inundates faces of family members who hope ongoing investigations will bring back their daughter.
Now, the CCC quarter here in Douala, Cameroon, is mourning the death of a high school student. The boy was electrocuted on his way back from fetching water. Ndi Maureen has the details of that sad story.
This high school student certainly had dreams. Unfortunately, all of these have been taken away by the cold hands of death. He was electrocuted by hanging cables on his way back home from fetching water. At his family residence at CCC quarter in Douala, Cameroon, the family is in tears. Somebody came knocking at the door telling me my younger brother had been electrocuted. I rushed the site. I tried to reanimate him. We had to rush him to the hospital, but it was too late. He died. His death has been blamed on the anarchical connection of electricity and poorly displayed cables. He first of all took a bucket, but later on abandoned it and took a basin, just to carry water for his father. On his way back, he was trapped by a hanging cable, which had current on it. He had to use his bare hands to remove the cables, but he got electrocuted. Inhabitants have poured their anger on the illegal supplier of electricity and what they have described as negligence. They say They had called his attention on that, but refused to remove the cables. Sesise Quarter is noted for the haphazard connection of electricity, which continued to put the life of the population in danger.
Now, land transporters in the Grand North have decried the numerous control posts found along the highway leading to Gabon and Chad. Well, they say that they are harassed by police officers, gendarmerie officers and custom officers, even when they present their complete documents. We have the details with Gladys Ambodzibang. Well, we are just getting information that that story is not ready, but of course we promise to bring you that story in the subsequent edition of our newscast. We now talk about this story. The first Secretary General of PUS, an opposition party in Douala, Cameroon, has vowed to track down the perpetrators behind a fire incident that razed down the Secretariat in Douala. The Secretary General has described the act as criminal, as Maureen details us.
This is what remains of PU's Secretariat in Douala, Cameroon. A day after, it was visited by fire in the early hours of Sunday. One of the members of the party is still in shock. We have lost everything. The office of the first Secretary General was seriously affected. Our archives, computers, printers, electrical appliances all went down into flames. From the first floor to the last, the fire left its impact. The first Secretary General of the United People for Social Renovation, PUS, Serge Espoir Matomba, says it's not a normal incident but criminal act which he condemns. I'm really sad. This is a criminal act. We have the proofs. Other witnesses recount. At about 3 a.m. I saw a thick smoke. I had to wake up my children and discovered the building was on fire. I went down to stop security forces. They had to call on the firefighters. The firefighters finally arrived and succeeded to stop the flames from extending to other nearby buildings. Material damage has been evaluated to millions of francs CFA. Serge Espoir Matomba had already declared his candidacy for the 2018 presidential elections, but how would this be possible when the fire has destroyed his entire database?
And we now bring you some news from the House of Assembly, where two government ministers have presented their budget to the Finance Committee this day. The Minister of Communication, Issa Chiruma Bakari, defended a budget of 4.3 billion francs CFA. Money, he says, will be used to encourage public-private partnership. After the Minister of Communication was the turn of the Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Ngano Jumesi, who is about now defending the sum of 356.2 billion francs CFA as budget for his ministry. Money, he says, will be used to open up road networks. Now, strategies for a more operational e-commerce is at the center of our discussion at the training that took off in Yaoundé today. Well, 50 participants from French-speaking African countries are taking part in that training, and the training comes just after a similar training was organized for participants from English-speaking countries. We have the details with Beaches Ngamo.
Of the quality needs of customers that are becoming more and more demanding, and the use of technology in the postal sector have fostered the development of e-commerce over the past 5 years, improving the interruptibility of network infrastructure through service quality, the efficiency and security of logistic chains, the establishment of standards and information and communication technologies, as well as rationalization of the operational processes and regulation, key objectives of the Istanbul World Postal Strategy on e-commerce. The focus here is on human capacity building.
Now, for practical activities to be identified with the right people, the expert on the field, we decided to organize 2 different workshops.
Training workshop on operational readiness for e-commerce for some 50 participants from 19 countries, organized by the Universal Postal Union in collaboration with the Pan-African Postal Union and the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications,
which have to discuss with them on the way, procedure, what to do, when to do it, how to do it. When they go back home, they will be ready to deliver this e-commerce.
There is a high growth rate of posters and packets thanks today to the development of online e-commerce.
We want to use it then to generate resources for relevance of our postal operators. How rich you are or how poor you are, you should access to that basic service to communicate, to buy and sell. And for our developing countries,
Cameroon is one of the 5 pilot countries, together with South Africa, Ivory Coast, Kenya, Morocco and Tunisia, pushing proper operationalization of e-commerce.
Ambassador to Cameroon has described the relationship between Cameroon and Italy as excellent, especially in the health domain. His Excellency Marco Romani was speaking shortly after a courtesy visit to the Ministry of Health. Beatrice Ngamo was there and tells us more.
The excellent relationship between Cameroon and Italy, especially in the health sector, issue at the center of the courtesy visit to the new Italian ambassador to Cameroon, His Excellency Marco Romiti, paid Public Health Minister Andre Mamafuda this December 4th in Yaoundé. The health sector, a priority sector of Cameroon-Italy relationship, and the Italian diplomat affirmed that they are sure to do a lot in this light to improve on the sector for Cameroonians and the country at large. Cameroon and Italy are also engaged in development cooperations, for example, in the north, which Italy is following, but also there are programs in the pipeline, especially the treatment of complex illnesses. The future between the two friendly nations is bright, as Health Minister Andre Mamafuda's host told reporter after the audience. Marco Romiti, the new Italian ambassador who's replacing Samuela Isopi, continues in her footsteps and policy of their country, Italy.
We stay with health-related subject. Well, this time around, the Department of Disease Control, Epidemics and Pandemics in the Ministry of Public Health is making sure emergencies and health events are well taken care of. Well, the second annual forum on emergency management health in Douala and Annette Efeti Esome was there.
Heads of regional centers for the fight against epidemics and pandemics in Cameroon have just ended a 3-day forum on the management of emergencies and health events. Work centered on identifying progress, strength, and weaknesses of the system put in place since 2011. Participants looked at the major risk Cameroon is exposed to, as well as main epidemics, and came up with measures to handle them.
You have to put in place a preparedness system so that if you have a public health emergency, we can repose, we can detect it at time, we can repose appropriately to protect Cameroon, and not only Cameroon but other countries.
After revisiting the actual state of affairs in Cameroon and measures put in place, participants have gone back very expectant.
We are really very expectant. The dynamics of the country, there are many things that are happening, and we are just getting more and more information on how to go about these things. So, for example, now we have the emergency centers that will be coming up, and we are just being mobilized, and we think that when the centers are going to come to our regions, in fact, many things will go in the right direction.
We have one plant, one organization, Serplay, to take all problems, provide epidemic and pandemics. Behind the governor in each region in Cameroon to make all measures to provide against all malady declared in this region in Cameroon.
At the end of the second forum on the management of emergencies and health issues, regional centers for the fight against epidemics and pandemics have been equipped to identify surveillance according to international standards and training for better riposte by coming up with a contingent plan on how to control every pandemic like cholera, polio, or bird flu.
Now, week-long activities to mark the National Social, or rather the National Solidarity and Social Entrepreneurship Week has been launched in Yaoundé today. The launching was presided over, naturally, by the Minister of Social Affairs, that is Pauline Irene Ngene. This was during an encounter with the press and mobile telephone networks. Ndi Maureen completes that story.
A two-phase ceremony organized by Social Affairs Minister Pauline Irene Ngene on national solidarity towards vulnerable persons of our society. The sensitization with the media and mobile telephone operators this December fruit in Yaoundé falls in this light.
To change the perception of the society towards the vulnerable people, we need the media. To mobilize additional resources for the financement of national solidarity, we need the media. And to be sure that the population is aware of the actions of the government towards those who are suffering, we need the media. That is the main purpose of the meeting of this morning.
Then, the official launch of the National Solidarity and Social Entrepreneurship Week.
That starts tomorrow, and which aims to present to the community what is done for the vulnerable people and to organize and coordinate the actions of national solidarity.
The week-long activities is under the theme placing social entrepreneurship and private social actions at the service of national solidarity. The week, a major activity inscribed in the 559 program National Solidarity and Social Justice of the Ministry of Social Affairs. This to facilitate the access of socially vulnerable persons to productive resources through community mobilization and partnership. The goal is to sensitize and arouse collective participation by all links of Cameroonian society for solidarity in favor of the socio-economic inclusion of socially vulnerable persons.
Well, I'm sure you corrected that yourself. That story was rather done for us by a Yaoundé-based correspondent Beatrice Ngamo. We'll now talk religion and religion. The PC, or rather the Presbyterian Church Ngomgam in Bamenda will soon have a befitting worship house. Now, the foundation stone was laid yesterday by the PCC moderator. Anna Feti Esome has the details.
We now lay this foundation stone of Presbyterian Church Ngomgam that is under construction, that this place might be devoted to the glory and worship of God and for his people, a place for the proclamation of the gospel and the administration of the sacraments, a place of prayer and praise, in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
By these words, the moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon is laying the foundation stone of this edifice, which upon completion will embellish the face of God's house at Ngomgang Congregation in Bamenda 2 subdivision. On a pastoral visit to Bamenda this Sunday, the chief executive of the PCC has called on thousands of Christians to be each other's keeper while lauding their generosity in carrying out evangelical mission work. Though the works are already at 52% gone, the laying of the foundation stone seems to be a tradition. Administrative, political, traditional, business and other top brass of the PCC took turns in the landmark placing of the foundation stone. In glorifying the Lord, in singing and dancing, this worship service mobilized over 13 million francs in liquid cash for the continuation of God's work.
Presbyterian Church in Cameroon is a church of elders and the laity. The church is owned by the laity, by the Christians. So the project has been their project from start to this level that we have now. So I think that the Christians have contributed virtually what we have realized today.
In the course of Sunday's church service, over 150 babies, adolescents, and adults were baptized and confirmed by the moderator and synod clerk, Reverend Foncha Babala George.
Now, the 2017 edition of the Ngondo Cultural Festival has ended in Douala with a call for peace, unity, and love to reign amongst Cameroonians. Well, Sawa indigenes were also called to shine the light wherever they find themselves in the country and out of the country. Thousands of Sawa indigenes and known as Sawa indigenes turned out massively at the banks of River Vuri to witness the closing ceremony. Our reporter Nzi Morin was part of that crowd. Here's our report.
The sounds of the drums tells the story of the Sawa people. The Ambasibe is just one of them. In the traditional outfit, the dance to the rhythms of the drums are typical Sawa culture. At the banks of the River Wari, sons and daughters and followers of the Sawa culture gathered to witness the end of the 2017 edition of the Ngondo Festival, placed under the symbols of light. This celebration marks the end of week-long activities, with diverse activities on the program: a caravan, Miss Ngondo, gastronomy, to name but these few. The celebration saw the presence of authorities and chaired by the Minister of Justice and Keeper of the Seals, representative of the head of state. The presence of traditional rulers from Gabon, Benin, Togo, and Nigeria also graced the event. A traditional wrestling was a major attraction. The winner is from the Belebele canton. Rose Bondi Osogo, who hails from Daido, is a 2017 beauty queen.
Elle me permet de partager cette...
That I have brought light to my people. It's been a long time since the crown came to Daido. It is time for the canoe race. And the winner of the canoe race is from Bonangang in Akwa. The most important moments for the celebrations is the traditional rites, where a message from the gods is delivered to the people. The ancestors are asking for unity between the traditional leaders and the people, and for the light to shine on them wherever they find themselves. The Ngondo Festival is a way to connect with the spirits of water gods and has been celebrated as an annual religious traditional festival for the countless years now.
Well, as we announced at the beginning of this newscast, Hugo Bros is no longer at the helm of affairs of the Indomitable Lion. The Normalization Committee of the Cameroon's football governing body, FECA Food, suspended the contract of the head coach of the Indomitable Lions, Hugo Bros. The reason, amongst other reasons for the suspension, was his inability to qualify Cameroon for the 2018 World Cup to take place in Russia. And still in the business of sports, 4 clubs of the Professional League in the Cameroon base in the Northwest region have threatened to pull out of the league. This club include Young Sports Academy of Bamenda that plays Elite 1 football, National Polytechnic of Bambui, PWD Bamenda, and Bang Bullet of Nkambe. The reasons for their withdrawal is the controversial judgment from the Olympic and Sports Committee on the 7th of November, more than 1 month. Well, after the end of the Elite Championship, PWD of Bamenda to an intensified league, though that at the end of the season, it was December 200 of Douala, Botafogo of Douala, and the Purchase Security of Garoua. Now, the draws of the 2018 World Cup that will take place in Russia held over the weekend with 32 teams divided in 8 pools as follows. We have Russia, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, we have Uruguay, we also have France, Australia, Peru, we have Denmark, and we have we have Argentina, Iceland, Croatia, and Nigeria. Well, you can know more about the draws. You can visit our website. You can also follow us on our Facebook page to know more about the draws of the 2018 World Cup to take place in Russia, and of course other news-making events in and out of the country. And well, ladies and gentlemen, that's how we saw it for this edition of the news on Canada English. Thanks for watching. Do stay blessed, and we pray you stay in the company of programs on Canada English. Good night.